Good afternoon, Instagram. Happy April. We made it through one of the longest decades of this year, so yay. Today, I want to take the time to talk about leadership and what leadership will look like in the future and what the possibilities that leadership can bring to our future given this time period. And so I was trying to think of a really clever and interesting way to start this conversation and get the topic introducing and get the role or conversation flowing, if you will. And the truth of the matter is that when it comes to leadership, I think we can agree that now more than ever we have very clear examples of what it means when someone says just because you are in a position of power does not mean you're powerful. And I would like to take the time to clarify that this is by no means meant to be a political video, okay? Because at the end of the day, I don't want people to not consider what is at stake and consider what is being discussed simply because they're under the impression that, oh, this is a political video, it doesn't align with my views, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to consider it. This is more of a universal conversation because at the end of the day, whatever happens is going to impact all of us. And this virus, unlike us, does not discriminate. And if it's shown us anything, it has shown us that we are all so much more similar than different. We're all right now literally in this together. And so we've seen unprecedented amounts of kindness, gestures of gratitude, gestures of aid. We've seen proof of what the society is capable of, and we've seen wonderful ramifications of what has happened due to us shutting down, if you will. Animals are coming into the town, which is kind of scary, but also, animals are feeling safe in their home almost. The climate is getting better. People are, yes, we're stuck inside and we're going a little crazy, but it's given us, everyone's trying to look at the positive. We're trying to help each other through this time, and we're giving each other the gifts of understanding. We're giving each other the gifts of grace. We're being kinder to one another, more empathetic towards one another. And the reason I'm bringing this all up is that leadership will be the difference between us using this time as a way to really evaluate the systems that we have in place and understand that they are not working, and do the evaluation and fight to implement changes that can make our world better. Or leadership will be the difference between that possibility and the possibility of all of this happening and nothing changing. And so when we talk about leadership, it is amazing how much natural leadership we are seeing. And I believe that we will continue to see natural leadership, people who are taking the reins and making something happen because there is no alternative to letting somebody else do it. And we, the people, as people of the United States, as citizens of this world, we have a role to play. We had a role to play, we have a role to play, and we will continue to have a role to play. I think one thing that when we talk about leadership, we'll have to look at it from a business standpoint, yes, from a government standpoint, but also as society. And when we talk about society, especially in the United States, we had a role to play in this, in whatever is happening right now. We have gotten too complacent and too comfortable for not demanding transparency from our government, not demanding accountability, not implementing our rights as the people to be represented by leaders we feel represent our interests. And when they're failing at their job, moving them out and finding somebody new. And so we as society have gotten a little too comfortable with letting the reins be taken by somebody else, and whatever happens will happen. That's not acceptable, because we now have seen what happens when we just let things happen. And so as a societal community, and by societal, I'm really talking about the United States here, now is a chance for us to reevaluate our roles as citizens, and what our rights are. If you are given the privilege to vote, yes, go vote. And yes, go to not just the presidential elections, but local elections and state elections and all that jazz. And there's plenty of stuff out there on voting, but what I'm talking about societal level is we have become too comfortable with letting other people tell us what to think. We rely just on the news for information, and then that's it. We've stopped asking questions. We've stopped looking, at different resources. We've stopped talking to other people. We've, for some reason, decided that experts don't really hold as much value. That will never make sense to me. And so, as a society, it is our job to make sure that we are just as knowledgeable and holding ourselves just as much accountable as we would expect from our leaders. Because if we're not doing that, then when things, quote unquote, happen under our noses because we weren't informed and we were not educated and we were not demanding the transparency, eventually people kind of, especially people in the government will say, well, whatever, we can get away with what we want to get away with. And I'm not blaming society by any means. Don't get me wrong. All I am saying is that the potential for the future that could come from this situation is on the shoulders of everybody. And right now, our society is, our society, the US society is even more so burdened to take leadership into our own hands, because we've given them to individuals that just are letting the reins go in the direction they need to go for themselves, but not for the majority. And so as society, that's what we need to do. And this leadership accountability and this natural leadership is on the responsibility of us as individuals ourselves. And what I mean by that is right now, we're all in quarantine and there's only so much Netflix we can watch. There's only so much music we can listen to, whatever. And so eventually there becomes a point where you inevitably will start self-reflecting, right? And self-reflection is good. Self-reflection is essential to growth, to understanding who you are and how you have evolved for over time and what you see yourself in the future. And that self-reflection should be occurring regularly. I know quarantine right now is where we're almost saying mass self-reflection. When we see that self-reflection, it's very clear that wonderful things can happen from it. Again, people are showing such acts of kindness. People are coming together because all the people who are putting things out for the delivery men or sewing masks or sending food or doing whatever they can to help others. That is the society that we can continue to be even in the future. And not just 18 months from now, 5 months from now, 10 years from now. That can be what the US society is all about. We can absolutely change our perception of what it means to be part of this society. And that will come with work. And that will come with continuous work. Work, again, not just over the next 12 to 18 months, but work over the next 2 years. Work over the next 5 years, work over the next 10 years. It should be so that we are continuing to work and adapt and change and keep who we are now as the vision of what we are striving for, so that way our children grow up in a society where it is normal to just show acts of kindness. It is normal to befriend all people. It is normal to show compassion to one another. It's not something that is seen as different or something we only do in times of trying times. I know that's weird, but times of difficulty. That's the word I'm looking for. But that it's part of who we are. And that comes with us doing our individual part of learning about others, reflecting of ourselves, and understanding that we are so much more similar than we are different. And whatever differences we do have, there's something to be explored, because it's very clear that we're still different people right now. And yet we've transcended all the boundaries that we've created. At the end of the day, all that matters is that we all understand we want our families to be safe. We want to be safe. We want to be able to continue our lives and thrive. So truly, we can continue to keep that, and we can continue to keep that vision for what we can be after this, because humans don't like change. Nobody likes change, right? But change is an opportunity for improvement or for stagnation. And we can improve. We can be better. We can rebuild the systems that have been crumbling for a long time. We can reevaluate the efficiency of systems. We can redistribute not just wealth, but standard of living. We can do all of those things, and we can be the change that we so desperately want to see. And that, like I said, that requires work, but that work and us coming together and everybody putting their foot forward and everybody walking the steps together and helping each other up when we're slipping is going to be the difference between us changing the course or us simply repeating history. And it would be a shame if we repeated history, because we already know what that one option was of not doing anything. So why don't we try something different? And that leadership of us as a unified person, as a unified group of collective people, we can see differences not only just within our homes, but within the way we interact with others, the way we interact with friends and family, the way we encourage each other to look at ourselves and find not necessarily what can we change about ourselves, but what can we improve upon. And that natural leadership within ourselves will eventually trickle into business. And that natural leadership will be very prevalent as once the economy starts to becoming alive again, if you will. It doesn't look like that will happen for a while, but we should start considering what will happen when the economy starts to slowly learn how to breathe again, to slowly learn how to walk again, to slowly learn how to jog. And before we know it, if we have that leadership, again, with ourselves, with society, and with businesses, we'll be running just like we used to be. And when it comes to leadership of businesses, it is essential that we give each other a little bit more understanding, give a little bit grace to one another, understand that businesses can't go from running marathons to, it's kind of like we've been running marathons, we have an ankle injury, and then we're trying to run a marathon immediately again. That's not how that works. It takes time, it takes rebuilding, it takes patience, it takes dedication, and it takes amazing coaches. And so these times will show us, are we going to be a world where we've improved the standard of living and the business quality, and we let people who can lead and let them improve us without having jealousy and ego get in the way and envy get in the way? Because at the end of the day, when we work together and we help people do what they are good at and we encourage one another, it's very clear that wonderful things can happen, and we can move so not only more forward than we anticipated, but we can make that change faster. And so with this conversation about leadership, I highly encourage you to look at this time and ask yourself, how can I be a better leader to myself? How can I lead by example? And what can I do to make sure that I do my part in helping this world mold into the bright opportunity that is possible after these dark times? I just wanted to give a little shout out to John Oliver, because he's the reason I decided to do a video on leadership, because he's very clearly done his research and education and has shown us what we need from leaders. So thanks, John Oliver. Bye, guys.